Coming to you from the all-new Live House in Hollywood, California.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. The amazing talent Kenny Beats is here with us. You'll meet him in just a second. But first, you have a short time to sign up for the Abbey Road Institute at Art House in Miami, the Pensado's Place Scholarship. One of you are going to be eligible for a scholarship. It's a very cool thing. You have up until October 10th to submit. Make sure you do that because Dave and I will be picking on October 25th. Go to this link right below, enter right away, coming up very quickly. Also, our good friends at BandPay are going to have a Twitter campaign. It's coming up very shortly. Some of you will win $500 to be able to utilize the app and see how that works. Keep an eye on our Twitter feed at Pensado's Place for all the details. That'll be happening on Friday. And for who BandPay is, you can stop chasing down payments. You can get paid on time every time. It's the music industry's only payment management tool. So download the app for free, and you can get that at this link. And now, our good friends at Sweetwater have got some great information for you. Mitch Gallagher is going to talk about reverb plugins on this week's Sound Advice, brought to you by Sweetwater.
Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to Sweetwater's Sound Advice. I'm a huge fan of reverbs. Hardware reverbs like the Lexicon PCM series, the Bricasti Model 7, the Eventide Reverb 2016, the TC Electronic M3000, and many more are simply incredible tools. There's just nothing like a great hardware reverb. But I find myself equally drawn to plug-in reverbs for several reasons. First, you can run multiple instances. Second, you can automate parameters within your DAW. Now, you can, of course, often control parameters in a hardware reverb using MIDI, but having that direct connection inside the DAW is really cool in my opinion. And of course, plugins are generally much less expensive than hardware. But perhaps the most important reason, in a plugin within a DAW, the designers can get really creative and give you possibilities that you don't find in hardware or that would be difficult to create using hardware. So with all that said, here are three of my favorite reverb plugins when I'm looking to move past the traditional sound of a room or a plate. First up, we have Eventide's Black Hole, which is based on algorithms originally found in their space pedal. It allows you to create very complex, evolving atmospheric effects, plus you can freeze the reverb tail for infinite hold effects, and you can sync up the delay and modulation effects with the tempo in your DAW. Next we have UVI's SparkVerb. UVI calls SparkVerb a synthetic reverb. You have tons of control over building and shaping the reverb, but the user interface is super simple. You can randomize settings, freeze the reverb, adjust decay across different frequencies, mutate parameters, morph between presets, and lots more. Last but not least, we have Synaptic Adaptiverb. Adaptiverb takes a totally different approach to reverb effects. Most reverbs are based on room or space reflections. With Adaptiverb, you can use AI, ray tracing, and source separation technology to create unique reverb sounds. There's even a control called bionic sustain resynthesis. I mean, how much more creative can you get? Adaptiverb's more of a synth in some ways than a reverb effect. In fact, it can even conform the effects to a specific musical key. There are tons of great reverbs out there for creating traditional ambiances and for emulating spaces, and I use them all the time. But these are three great plugins I love to experiment with when I'm looking for a little something different for my mixes, tracks, and sound design. The next time you want something extra for your sound, check them out. Thanks for joining me for Sweetwater Sound Advice. I'm Mitch Gallagher.
So everybody hit us on our socials right here. Sign up for our newsletter, like and subscribe. We certainly appreciate all that. And now, watch this interesting conversation that we had with Kenny Beats. Hitmaker, got great content on his Twitch channel, on his YouTube channel. Enjoy. Let me just give you some advice from our guest, Dots. Don't overthink shit. And we are pleased to welcome to the place Kenny Beats. Kenny, what's happening?
Let's go. Happy to be here. I'm mad I'm not in the studio, honestly, though.
Yeah. Well,
I wanted to be at the table. I had a whole thing planned. It's kind of throwing me off just to begin with.
I tell you what, let's make a deal. The first guest we have when we can return to that is you.
Can you promise that right now?
Right now. It's committed. It is viral.
All right.
Between your followers and our followers, we're there.
Done.
Right?
Done.
Much respect for what you do in that, similar to us, I think that you approach this, the way you produce, in a very holistic way. It's not just making a beat and getting out of the studio with making a beat. It's the input into your ears about the person and where they're at and what they're thinking and what they're feeling really details the output that comes from you. And I think that holistic approach is the way. Am I detailing it right? Speak to that.
100%. I mean, I came up watching you guys. I came up watching a lot of people who I saw take on tasks far beyond what they had on their name tag. So I know a lot of engineers who do a lot of production. I know a lot of producers who do a lot of engineering. I know a lot of, you know what I mean, players who do a little bit of everything. And like, I've seen so many of my favorite producers, my favorite engineers take on 6, 7, 8 jobs. It never made sense to me to be able to send a pack of beats to anyone. How am I going to get a performance? How am I going to be able to gauge where they're at? So once I started engineering all my own vocals, recording all my own sessions, being the janitor, the intern, and the producer, and the best buddy, like that's when I got good music for the first time in my life. And I've been making music since I was 8 or 9 years old. It wasn't until 25, 26, I got hip and started doing everything myself in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of doing everything, one of my favorite projects by you is Dominic Fike, Phone Numbers. I love that song. Wow. And you did everything. So you mixed it, you tracked it, you wrote it, did the lyrics, did the music, did the janitoring work. And by the way, you got compliments on that. But man, can you break down how that came together? That's except for that's one of my favorite songs.
I knew you guys were good at this, but that was a perfect segue. So the way that whole thing worked with Dominic was Dom signed a deal with Columbia. He had a song called 3 Nights that had hundreds of millions of streams out. And besides that, he was pretty much a mystery. He was a kid from Florida who had a really crazy story. People knew both his parents were in jail. He was in jail. He got out. He's a super good looking kid with this crazy story. And I think every single A-list pop type dude or whatever in LA was like, we got to get in with Dominic. This is going to be the cool thing. This is going to be the young hot thing for me to do. I miss the Brockhampton kids, so let me jump onto this train. Like, that's how people were kind of treating it. Every time I heard his name or he got brought up, it was this hype thing. There was so much hype. What's he going to do next? What's the single going to be? I heard one song by Dom, didn't know anything about all my friends trying to sign him or everybody trying to work with him. And halfway through the one song, I DM'd him. And I was like, can we work? Like, can we make music? He's a Vince Staples fan. So I did a whole album for Vince Staples called FM. People think Dom's over here listening to like singer-songwriter shit and trying to be Frank Ocean. He listens to rap music. His favorite rapper is Gucci Mane. Like, Dom hit me back because he knew I was a rap producer. There was no hype. There was no like, oh, he's trying to get my single. He knows about my deal and all this context. I just hit him cold and he hit me back. He came through. We smoked a bunch of weed and we made Phone Numbers and the outro on his album the first day I ever met him.
Wow.
Straight through, top to bottom, every single vocal, every single stack, every single lyric, every single guitar part. We did it top to bottom in 14 hours. His manager got there that night, and Cruz, who actually did a lot of mixing on the record, they came to the studio that night, and they were like, he did this all today? Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, what? I never met him, so I didn't know that was weird. They were like, he did both of these today? And I was like, yeah. Apparently, up till that point, Dom had been kind of half finishing stuff, kind of been caught up in this mindset after moving to LA, and we kind of cleared that. 6 months later, we were on Jimmy Fallon, and I'm playing bass, and look at Dom now. His album's mixed by Tom Elmhurst. It sounds.
I know that. And Manny did some stuff too.
Oh yeah, Manny did some of it. Tom mixed my song. Tom mixed Florida, and I see why he gets paid what he gets paid. It's a beautiful thing.
When you were recording him, did you try to make sure that you got him in the moment, or did you get everything set up and then come back to the recording? It feels like the vocal was just kind of done. The more I stress over a particular mix, the worse it gets. My first impression tends to be the best, and it felt like a lot of what I heard on the record was just first takes, first tries, first everything. I think that's kind of a benchmark of yours in terms of the way you work. I admire that. I'm gonna increase my speed.
I mean, Dom is fast. That has nothing to do with me or like my prowess is getting him into the moment. He's fast. Like when anyone goes into the studio with him, he writes something that's that catchy and that hooky quick. Hooks are, he's like, it's like he's a member of the Bee Gees. Like he just does hooks first. He's got the hook out the gate as soon as he hears it. And then it's kind of like, it always seems like he's trying to figure out how to not let any line of the song be less of a moment than the hook. It seems like Dom's always like, this word phonetically works, but it's not as good as how I feel about this moment. And he's always kind of just deducing how to get back to the feeling he got in that first second, which is something I've heard Louis Bell talk about also. Like not wanting to hear the whole chord change, wanting to get right in the booth immediately and have that instinct with your first melody that you can never get back. Dom's first instinct is so good that it seems like most sessions he has it, and then the rest of the ironing out of the song is trying to just capture that instinct. And with Phone Numbers, the hook was done first. So I just met this kid, and I'm like, maybe you're insanely good and this is a throwaway, but in my mind, this hook is something, you know? And so Dom almost dipped on me probably twice. We were smoking a lot of weed, and there'd be times where Dom would just go, maybe I gotta write to it. I mean, maybe I gotta sit with it. Can you send me this? I think there was one point he said, can you send me this? And was like getting ready to dip. I don't know him well enough to respect his process. So what I said, it was like, you're gonna like bitch out now? Like we're this far? Like you wrote this amazing hook. You've done 75% of the first verse. Like at least finish the first verse. Then you got a verse and a hook. This is strong. Right. His friends got there a little later, started gassing him up, reinvigorated. But yeah, he came in first instinct off the gate. Most of that song is exactly how you're saying, first take. And then I kind of just had to be a little bit of a jerk to get that last 10%. But now I've come to realize it's a big part of how Dom and I work. And since that's how he met me, he expects nothing less. And every time we're in the studio, when I tell him, bro, go back in, like he goes. So that's where we're at now. We made a song last week at Conway that I'm in love with.
But you know what? You spoke to something that it has actually become one of your signatures, which is you work hard to make sure that you develop a signature for the artist, as opposed to maybe past Woe Kenny, without putting your signature on them. The signature is what you help them create for them, and I think that is absolutely brilliant. You know, we in our sponsorships we do the same thing. We don't have a deck. We customize for whatever the relationship is, for what the ROI is, and then we try to give you a custom-made suit. And hopefully more sponsors leave happy because of that individualized treatment. That's part of what you do with artists, correct?
100%. I grew up in Connecticut. I'm a straight white guy who makes, I make predominantly black music. I'm a straight white dude from Connecticut. There's no authenticity to me making anything. There's no scene in where I'm from. There's no cool music there. Like I'm known really for making rap shit, and I come from the least rap place you could ever come from. Yeah. My whole thing was I am a fan. I'm a fan first of every single person I work with. There's no one you guys could have on the docket that I've done a record with that I'll be like, yeah, good luck to them. Like I really, truly care about all these people. And I can't say that my whole career, because I was doing EDM and I was doing shit when I was younger to get a check, to get clout, to get followers. Sure. I had an epiphany at 25. Like, if I get hit by a car tomorrow, this is my legacy. And all these songs I just worked on for checks are my legacy. And I'm leaving behind a lot of buildups and drops and not a lot of great songwriting. So at around 25, 26, I restarted how I thought about things. I was broke. My dad was in a coma. I had quit DJing. I had quit all this festival money that was paying my bills. I had a lot of issues going on, and I was like, okay, I'm going to make 1,000 beats. I'm going to make more beats than I've ever made in my life. So I'm actually prepared to walk into these rooms with all these artists I think I'm good enough to work with. Mm-hmm. I started making all these different types of beats, and I would get into rooms with people, and they would just give you the general, just play shit, play me some shit, whatever, which is not how I work now. And I would go in and play people beats, and they'd say, oh, well, listen to this. This is what I'm working on. And then they'd play me what they're working on, and I'd embarrass myself. And it was in a completely different niche, completely different swing, different tempo, different subgenre. And I was like, I came here and guessed and checked off this person's last album and played them some tight beats that sound like shit they've already been on. They're on a whole new thing. I can't play beats. I can't walk in and play beats. I'm gonna like look like an idiot 9 times out of 10, especially just cold emailing them. So my new process became ask a lot of questions, know who you're working with, and listen to a lot of music, and then start the beat. Don't come in with like, because until I do 30 jobs, I'm a beat maker. So if the beat is the first thing I need to do to get some interest or to get a performance or to have the session get going, like me playing a bunch of pre-made stuff, even if it's like, let's say I made a beat for SZA, you know what I mean? And then days later, like I'm with Kehlani, I know they're friends, I know they might like certain shit, I'm not going to play something I made for somebody else for something else, because I made that for that person for a reason, and it doesn't resonate the same. Will I still get placements if I play beats? Fuck yeah. Well, at this point with the momentum I have, will people get on the shit just because of the tag or whatever? Fuck yeah. But like quality control is, you know what I mean? and like that's the most important thing to me is the quality control, making sure I care about every single thing. So I got to take it piece by piece, or I'm going to fuck it up.
When you sit down to start something with an artist, more often than not, do you sit down at a keyboard and play some stuff, or do you let them kind of stream of consciousness, a melody? How does the process work most of the time?
It's another part of having an agenda. I mean, I'm sitting in a room right now with a Hoffer behind me, a mic'd drum kit, a Rhodes, a DX7, all this stuff that was so foreign to me and that meant nothing to me 2 years ago. I don't know, you guys are probably familiar with The Cave. That's like my YouTube show and everything, but that is my studio. It's a shitty lockout in a rehearsal space by an airport. It's not a beautiful, it's not a great place.
Doesn't have to be.
That's where I made everything. That's where I made every good. I've made hundreds and hundreds of songs that have been released there, let alone the thousands I haven't. That's where all these relationships have been formed. Everything from a Dominic Fike to a DaBaby. It doesn't matter. All of it happened in that room. And when I was in that room, I had a laptop, my TubeTech CL1B, my John Hardy, my U87 for my vocal chain. And besides that, I had fucking nothing in there. Like I got around to getting an SPL monitor controller. And I felt so rich for a couple of weeks after that because I had used just a big knob for 5 years that was broken. Like I never used anything. And so it was either I'd have to figure out something to bring to them. I'd have to spend days ahead of time either recording myself playing guitar or people like Jared Scharf, my good homie who plays on SNL, plays on a bunch of stuff with me, played on the Dominic Fike record. I keep a lot of ammo. So if I'm in with somebody and they say, I want to go this way, I want to go this way, can I pick up a guitar? Yes. Can we pull out the MIDI? Yes. Can we do a bunch of those things? But I would just keep ammo and kind of just make sure like I have any type of like, let's say at least cliche subgenre starting point that has a cool texture to it. So if they say, I want to go this way, I want to go this way, I can go Detroit house. I know what kicks to reach for. I can go over here to, you know what I mean? Super clean, like acoustic shit if I need to reach for something for Nashville. If I have to go hard rap, I have my fart 808s right in this folder. Like I keep so many fucking sounds around me that depending on what they tell me, my process is going to move. And I went to Berkeley for guitar, but I suck. So don't think that I can go walk to this instrument and just rip a chord change. Like it's not an easy process for me to walk around and play all these instruments. So I make sure that I have a ton of stuff to make my life easy. I've never lost a sound. I've been producing since I was 15. I'm 29 years old. I have it all. I have every terabyte of every old ripped off Timbaland, Pharrell, Dilla drum kit, all the way to the newest splice pack from 2 days ago. I'm obsessive about having sound. So when someone asks me for something, I can reach for this plethora of shit.
Are you sure you went to the Berkeley in Boston or the one in California?
Dave, don't start. I went to Berkeley, Boston, and I graduated, which is rare. Yeah.
So when I found that out, I started listening to a lot of your tracks and listening for kind of chord embellishments. Like instead of a CEG, I was expecting kind of like a flat 5 thrown in here and there. And you keep it pretty straight. It's cool.
Yeah, I promise that I promise none of my Rico Nasty songs have any reharms in them, but I'll work on that for 2021.
Man, the Rico Nasty stuff is incredible. Incredible.
Oh, thank
you guys are a match made in heaven.
I actually have a request, Kenny. You are the epitome of the sort of chance and circumstance type dude, and partly, some of us on this side fancy that as well too. Something happens and you figure out what to do and you stay ahead of the curve and you keep your, my team will tell you how much of an asshole I am about brand standing.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's why we're successful.
That's true too.
Exactly. And we wouldn't have been if somebody didn't do that. But
talk your shit, Herb. Talk your shit.
Oh yeah, man.
Talk that shit, Herb.
Yeah. Herb's had a little to do with this. As is everybody on the team. But here's the point I'm getting to. My request is the way you think, the fact that you approach this in a holistic way, the fact that you keep all this ammo, the fact that you're a historian about it, please do some stuff outside of the genre you love. There is some magic that you're going to do in Nashville or with something that will absolutely go through the roof. You are leading, other people are following. And so keep pushing that envelope, man. Really
appreciate
important.
that so much. Last time someone I look up to as much as you guys gave me some advice like that, it actually gave me the balls to go try something new. So I need to hear shit like that. Thank you.
Well, and let me just say this, Dave, really quickly. See, what a lot of people don't know is that we then get reverse inspiration. So when we're researching folks like you and seeing what else is happening, and sometimes we see where we've had an impact, sometimes we find stuff we don't know. That's what keeps us on the edge to keep going. Listen, I just spoke to Ohio University yesterday, and the point I'm making to our audience is that, inspiration is part of the tool of creativity, and you have to find it and get it,
everything,
and get it from wherever you got and keep going. So it's super cool to me that guys that are Dave and I's age are super cool with 20-year-olds and 18-year-olds.
You guys got to know. You have to understand that I today was like just talking to a couple of my friends randomly. I was talking to Mac DeMarco right before I got in here and told him I was coming on Pensado's place. Like, you guys, like, both of you, your names ring out among my fan base, young producers, everybody using the Splice kids who are just realizing for the first time, you know what I mean, how to like sync something in Ableton and already aware of Pensado's place. Like, for you guys to be as aware as you are, having someone like me doesn't fucking matter. Like, to have the two Mays and then have a Mike Dean and then be able to talk to CL and then be able to talk to Josh Goodwin and then be able to talk to all these. You guys really span everything, and you're fucking funny. If you guys were as boring as some people who do your jobs, it wouldn't be this, And it's like, even
100%.
Like, it means so much to all of us, because right now you're seeing, if you put the information in front of people as far as all this streaming shit that's going on, all this Twitch stuff, like,
yeah,
kids are ready for it and they haven't had it. Got a masterclass, no offense, for $200 is not going to help a lot of 16-year-olds who, need help working with a young artist. Like, it's just not. You can go on Pensado's place right now and get game. You know what I mean? Like, that's my whole thing is game. I'm 29. I'm not young in this at all, even though I know I'm young in this. Like, 25 is old to someone who listens to Lil Uzi. You know what I mean? Who listens to Cardi. So for me, I'm at a point now where if I sit there and I make a beat, even if I make the craziest thing I can make. The other night I recorded 9 tracks of guitars, all live drums, all live keys, everything on Twitch, and made this whole thing. If I do that, kids learn this much, they care this much, da-da-da. If I talk to them about all the dumb shit I've done, the shit I fucked up, my whole path, you know what I mean, what it took me to get here, the fact that I did 4 years at Berkeley when I felt like I could have rushed out of there and done all this, like, that's what really, like you're saying, inspires and makes people want to go learn more and try new shit. And you guys are the goats. You do that in spades. So anything that I do, The Cave, any of these like producer-centric pieces of content, they're spawned off you guys, and they need to put respect on your fucking name. And trust me, any one of my friends do 100% of the time.
Well, I need some Kleenex, but also the fact that you said put respect on your name, that I'm good. Dave, take it over from here.
Well, I'm going to do the first annual Pensado's Place challenge. I challenge Kane Brown and Kenny Beats to do 2 songs together. I would love to hear. I'll mix it free. I'll pay to mix it. I think you guys are the marriage made in heaven, you two guys.
Kane Brown is so fire too. Oh my God.
Well, let's do this.
I'm scared of Nashville. Nashville doesn't know how scary they are.
No,
like,
we'll take you down there, and Kane Brown is coming on in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to mention it to him and to Martha Earls, his manager, and try to make that hook up.
I'm more than ready. But here's the thing. This is fucked from the beginning though now, because now you guys are you guys are hearing my first demo now, which is fucked. See, this is bad. Nah. Okay, I want to work with Kane Brown, but I'm hiding it till you guys till final stem. I'm gonna end up with CLA vocals on something. Dave's gonna yell at me. I can't deal with this stress. I don't even know what CLA vocals does. Guys.
Everybody loves CLA vocals. I use it all the time.
Do you guys know about the beef? Do you guys know about the beef I started?
No.
Okay,
yes.
Let's just get into it lightly. So let me tell you just a little something about what's going on. I started a Twitch channel in March. I have a couple 100,000 of followers now. We do beat battles every Monday. We give away everything from Antara stuff to Roland drum machines to Shure microphones to all types of gifts every week. Mike Dean is judged. Billie Eilish and Phineas have judged. Timbaland is judged. Benny Blanco. It's a beautiful thing that goes on. I was on stream one day and I was doing some vocal arrangement, I guess, something like that. And I pulled up a trusty old CLA vocals on something I was using. I have a couple engineer friends. I have a couple mixed friends in the industry. A couple guys called me after I got off and they said, Kenny, maybe you try this UAD thing. Maybe you try this thing. Maybe try that. I don't know. I'm just not really using CLA vocals much these days. So to fuck with people, next time I went on Twitch, I go, Alex Toomey only puts EQ and CLA vocals on all my mixes. And then I said, I found out recently that every single thing you guys have ever heard from me is just CLA vocals on the master, actually. And there's really nothing else. That's the whole thing. It's my demo mix, CLA vocals on the master. Mike Dean, who is my guy, Mike is like my big bro. Like Mike, I'm not sure knew if we were joking or not when we first were posting about it. So Mike he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, you can't put that on the master. Like, they started saying all this shit, and we're like, Mike, I use it. Like, we were joking. It's not that serious. All of a sudden, Jason Joshua was posting pictures at the gym, lifting dumbbells, hashtag CLA vocals on everything. I'm in the middle of this somehow. I didn't do fucking anything wrong. So I'm out here, just trusty old producer, making my beats, staying in my lane. And all of a sudden, I'm in the middle of a fucking limiter war. You guys got to get me out of this. You are the only two that can pull me out of this beef at this point.
I'm in the middle of it too because I love Mike Dean, and Jay and I got history for like 15 years, really. And
they're gonna see this and hate me.
And so I just tell them both I love them, and I'm not getting in. That's it. I ain't getting in it no more. But I wouldn't stand between those two guys. They're like Jason is like, and Mike is like, I've seen Mike pummel several interns into the ground.
I sent Jason the most scared DM. I sent the DM so scared, like, hey, Jason, just so you know, man, I think you're a legend. I actually use CLA vocals. I didn't, these kids are taking it a little out of hand.
To be fair to both of them, the CLA vocal plugin is a collection of other Waves individual plugins. So it's no different than using the 5 individual plugins or 6 individual plugins. And that's what most people do. So it's a quick way of amassing all those plugins at one time. I use it on background vocals sometimes. And
for a demo at that, my original use for CLA vocals was because it seems like, I don't even want to say this to you guys. It seems like the dumbest question, but I was at a point when I was first engineering my records where I loved how my beats were mixed. I really liked the vocal sound I was getting, and I was using like a TLM, like a Neumann TLM 103 through an Avalon. Like, I had a horrible chain at the time, but I was getting a really good vocal tone, getting a really good mix on my beat. And every time I would try to get the vocal loud enough against my beat, it always felt like when my snares were where I needed them to be, I couldn't hear enough definition in the vocal. And when my vocal was fully clean, I was missing out on so much of my beat. And for some reason, certain tweaks with CLA vocals helped it sit better. And then it just became a part of my chain, as far as just like my general like chain that I pop on when I'm done with the song, when I'm going to bounce that demo mix so it's loud as fuck on their phone for the next week. And it just became like a part of my workflow. But the joke spun so far in, and now if you go in my Twitch chat, like, I'll say anything in there. I'll be like, guys, I'm having trouble with this snare drum. I think my bottom mic placement may be fucked up. Maybe I got to switch to 57. They're just like, put CLA on it. And I'm like, Jesus, you're not helping me.
Well,
so here's the thing.
Maybe they can go JJP or something.
Here's the thing. We will broker the piece for you. We will take our roles as the ambassador. As a matter of fact, at the end of the show, when we do a social pickup, we're going to get a final clip of your recorded statement, and we'll be able to put the thing together, and we will do our role as ambassadors. And I'm actually just put a group together called BAM, which is Black Audio Matters. And so part of what we're doing is making sure that we can step in and help navigate stuff. But let me go to something that you referred to before, which, by the way, that story was great. We recently had Keith Urban on. He talked about the word play, and that is not used enough. You play music, you play concerts, you play instrument, but we should be playing and having fun. You utilize humor in the way that, as you alluded to, we utilize humor. Like, you should come to this with a spirit of joy and find the humor, and it actually enhances your creativity and makes the environment better. Am I scribing what you think correctly?
Definitely. I mean, I think I'm going to end up getting coined as some like Tony Robbins, Gary Vee shit in a couple months if I don't chill out, because I'm so overwhelmingly just like, I feel so overwhelmingly fortunate. Obviously, I'm a white privileged male, you know what I mean, working in black music. I'm an imposter in my industry in general. So we try to go out of our way. We're donating 2% of everything Don't Overthink Shit does, 1% to an organization called 1% for the environment, another percent of everything we sell, everything we make to ongoing social causes. But for me, I'm not curing cancer as far as a producer. You know, I'm like, we're not doing anything that fucking serious. None of these fees on these songs, none of these points on these records, none of these co-producer, none of this shit is that deep. And people are down to lose friends over $5,000 in some music industry shit. People are down to lose friends over a tag. People are down to lose friends over not giving the German guy who made the loop the credit he deserves. Right. It's all over the place with people's mindset about how this shit works. And I encountered a couple things really quick when I came back to this new Kenny Beats moment when a couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, when I stopped DJing. And my manager, we did one project with somebody. I did the entire project. I mixed it, recorded it, engineered it, produced it, did the creative, handled all the rollout, all the Instagram stories. Everything was my team, 100% of it, because we just wanted it to be sick. Whenever we got the deal back, Mike goes, "Oh, you are not valuable as a producer in rap music." Like, it was the first deal he had brokered. Mike's my best friend and my manager. It was the first deal he had done for me as like Kenny Beats doing a whole album, coming back to doing Kenny Beats. I was a DJ. I was playing Bonnaroo as Loud Pack as a DJ at this time. No one knew I was coming back to being Kenny and do rap shit. I did a Kendrick record when I was 19. I did Mac Miller when I was a young kid. Like, I had this past of like doing 1 or 2 rap songs, getting paid probably a total of $5,000, a DJ career. And when I came back, we did one deal and Mike was like, "You're fucked. They can replace your beats in 2 seconds. Like, they don't need you here for any reason. Like, the fact that you're giving this guy free studio time at the Cave is probably the biggest reason why you even got the project. Like, we need to figure out a way to make you more valuable." And that was him on a branding perspective of Mike and my team came up with the Cave. Mike and my team came up with how my Twitch stream looks and the idea of me even streaming. They started to see this pattern of like, I'm working on all these songs with all these different people, and all these labels have to say is, "Show us your credits. All right, here's $5,000. Like, you know what I mean? There was no way for me to fight back with the amount of work I was doing, the quality of what I was doing, whatever. And so I started taking it less serious. And so I started taking the fighting for the placements and all that stuff, like less of like a live or die situation. I was like, you know what? Let me work on way more music. Like, I'm already fucking broke and depressed. Let me spend all my time in the studio. What do I have to lose? Yeah, and then, but 6 months into it, I'll tell you this, and this is the thing, a lot of people who may have gone down this route or will go down this route of putting out 100 songs in a year produced by you, at the beginning of that, your lawyer and your manager and everybody's not going to get it when they have to do 40 contracts that all pay $2,500 each. Like, they have someone over here that's a client of theirs. They're lucky that they even took you as a client. Their other client is making $50,000 for one song that they co-produced. You know what I mean? You're over here arranging all these details for all these Detroit records, street shit in Florida. I'm doing shit in Atlanta. I started being like, okay, I'm going to make a ton of music with a ton of people. It's free studio time. If you come and work with me, you're going to leave before I leave. And then what trickles down, you know what I mean, is what's left, and it is what it is. And I'm at a point now where I have so much music that I'm making, so much music that I'm doing, and I've kept this like fever pace up. I don't know ever really what's dropping or what's coming out, but I have music dropping every single month of the year, nonstop. I've dropped probably 25, 30 songs in quarantine, like that are produced by me. It's gotten to this point where if I get in there and I'm worried about if I get the placement, if this equates to anything, if we even make something that day, it's ruined. So my energy's got to be pure when I go in. It's got to be happy. It's got to be fortunate. I'm lucky to be on Pensado's place. I'm lucky to have my own fucking studio. It's all like so lucky. So you got to treat it that way, and you got to have that good, you know what I mean, spirit about you, or you're not going to attract any good energy.
Yep. You almost have to kind of, from my perspective, evaluate your career by the haters. If you're not getting enough haters, then you're not pushing far enough. And that leads me to a question: when you're trying to create from scratch in the mix world, I always have to how much new am I going to put into this mix, and how much now am I going to put it into this mix? Too much now, and it's a likelihood that it won't work. Too much new, there's a high likelihood I'm going to get haters at the label, haters at the production level, haters at the artist level. and I have to be strong and make it, take it or leave it, because the haters are what lets you know how you're progressing and how long your music will be valuable, you know. So how do you solve that conundrum? I hear a little bit of new in everything you do.
Wait, like the new conundrum or the hater conundrum? There's a little bit of both.
Yeah. Well, they're tied together.
I think for me, like it's if you guys have been aware of like the content I put out and stuff, I'm very self-deprecating when it comes to certain issues and certain stuff. You know what I mean? Like if one of my friends roasts me on some content that I'm doing, I put it in the content. I put it out. Like it's no longer funny at all. And if anybody comes on any of my pages and ever says anything making light of what's going on right now, they're immediately blocked and immediately taken off. But Vince Staples is one of my good friends, came on my show and made a joke about me being a police officer. It was rampant on my social media for years. I still get that every once in a while, an asshole kid just trying to make a cop joke in a time where 120 people have been killed in 20 days by police officers. I can't understand how people find this shit funny, but I'll put a joke about me that's going to ruin my social media in my content. Because it's like, say whatever you fucking want. Like, I know. Everything you're going to say, I know. You know what I mean? I fucking hated myself 5 years ago. I was an EDM DJ. Like, I'm not owed anything. I'm not owed any type of respect. I'm not owed any type of followership or money or whatever. So, like, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to work my fucking hardest on it. And if I'm proud of it, if my friends love it, I'm solid. I used to not feel that way. When I was younger, I needed everybody else to love it. I needed that random kid with the fucking cartoon picture on Twitter to love it. I needed everybody else to care. I don't need everybody else to care now. Like I was in my living room yesterday and I've been making these things on cassette. I have a Sony cassette player right here. And I've been printing all these beats and everything I'm making to cassette. And then on Twitch, I'll play them back a cassette. And I made one every week for the last 4 weeks where I take like 4 new beats that I've made that no one's heard, mostly all live stuff, put an acapella on it. And then I put it on cassette and I make a custom intro. It's become this whole crazy thing, but I'll sit there and just play that music for people on my stream and just let them watch it. I never upload it. I never put it anywhere else. But before I go on stream, I play it for my friends. And we're all in here losing it like in the last 3 weeks about, oh my God, it sounds so cool on the cassette. Oh my God, like that one beat is so fire. Like if my friends are psyched, I'm psyched. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I truly don't care. There's days where I lose it. There's days where someone goes and writes some fucked up All Lives Matter shit or some shit on my page and I just go write 8 paragraphs to that kid about what a piece of shit he is. But for the most part, I let it all roll off my back because I've gotten, my one dream was to like have weed on the table, have my own studio, work with some artists I like. That's as far as I dreamed. Everything, all the goals are accomplished now. It's just vision from here on forward. Like I got everything I wanted, man. Shit on me all you want.
But you know what? That's partially why I'll go out on a limb here and say, in some ways, you embody the kind of being the Malcolm Gladwell of hip hop, in that you don't look at it typically, you adjust according to the circumstance. You're not afraid to bring cerebral stuff to it, but also just gritty street shit, new platforms, new usage, full exposure, pulling back the covers. That's really leading in today's environment. Because it takes balls, but the other thing that you're doing, and shout out to your manager and your team, and this is to our audience to really understand this, you have to know how to let yourself be handled so that one, you play to your strengths and you make sure your team wins. And when you do that, when you respect that, that becomes almost unstoppable, provided there's some talent and there's some stuff going on. And you guys, you're killing that. And so just as a infrastructure guy, an organization guy, and a vision guy, just know I appreciate it and tell your team, well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
I mean,
Sure.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that content doesn't make your music better. And doing a YouTube show and doing a Twitch stream and all this stuff and breaking down a bunch of stuff that you know how to do, it's not going to get you more placements or put you in the room with more artists or make more artists want to work with you. And I think people don't realize this because it's become part of like what I'm doing over the last year and a half. But I get very worried about overexposing myself, talking too much, giving too much game, too much about my past, too much info, leaking too much music. Because I'm lucky most of the artists I work with don't give a fuck if I play a 30-second snippet. Like I'm at a point where I've gotten a followership that's much bigger than a lot of producers who are doing 10 times what I'm doing on Billboard. You know what I mean? But I have this big, you know what I mean? Kind of like group of supporters behind me. I never want what my team was able to like theorize and come up with for me as far as something like the cave or the streaming or all this face forward stuff to take me out of a cool room, because I'm doing this to make music with artists I love. So if I end up missing a call from FKA Twigs because she's needs her album to be aesthetically one way and she can't have, you know what I mean, the guy who's on Twitch every day doing funny meme stuff on the album, that's one of my biggest fears. And that's why when I give kids the advice of how I separated myself a little bit as a producer, using things out, like I'm producing a shit ton of music. It's not like I'm letting the content fill in the gaps, but the content and stuff is what took it to another level. Understand that it's got to come second. You know what I mean? You got to be sturdy in who you're working with and how you're working and how comfortable you are with someone to be on camera with them. That was my first thing. Like putting Thundercat on camera was about the dumbest thing you can do. Like Steven does not like want to go play in everybody's stuff. He's a virtuoso, unbelievable talent who everybody wants to jump on their album to make them look like they got to pimp a butterfly. You know, it's like, this is a guy who's keeps to himself and keeps to his friend group. And I'm lucky enough to have mutual friends and that we work once in a while. For someone like that to come on my show and really be themselves, you know what I mean? That it only comes back to the fact that him and I have worked a ton of times. We've had 10 studio sessions where I never gave a fuck about making a song or making a beat. So he's truly comfortable with me as a homie. So when I have to ask the favor of, can we film this thing for 15 minutes? You know what I mean? It's truly normal. I feel shitty the whole time and I'm like, all right, we'll get to this. As soon as this is done, we'll start the session. But because I have a rapport with all these people, like real rapport in real life, and because I really work on the music, the content was able to boost my shit. Don't think that really putting your time in, putting your 10,000 hours in on what you're doing, you can go film yourself and blow it up and have special guests. And it's going to feel like the reason those episodes get the views they get is because no one's seen Zack Fox or Vince or Thundercat or whoever as comfortable as they are on the show. I know
that's part of Pensado's Place magic. And by the way, Thundercat's ability to consume caffeine is just stunning.
He ate 7 fruit by the foot. He's never had a fruit by the foot before or a fruit roll up. And he was at my house. I had the Costco pack. He ate 7 fruit by the foots in a row. You know how many feet that is? That's like 50 feet.
That should be the title of his next album, 50 Feet.
50 feet of fruit rolls. Well, all right. So now we got to get to a little bit of sports. We got to get to batter's box here and just see how I know it's going to be good because there's some great athletes out of Connecticut and, some great history. So, Dave, are you prepared? Because we got a tough one here.
Yeah, I'm more than prepared. In fact, I want to tell Kenny about a plug-in called Sketch Cassette.
I know all about it.
Yeah, there's a little time.
How about Waves Factory Cassette?
Yeah.
Wave Factory Cassette is my favorite of those two, but I got stuck in a desert island, RC20 is my one plugin I'm taking.
All right, here we go. Bass.
P-Bass. Oh, Jocko. I do 2. Let me do 1. P-Bass.
Okay. Loops.
Splice.
Alex Tomei.
Thug.
Minor key or major key?
Ear training class, year 1 of Berkeley, sweating, crying in my dorm by myself.
I quit. Vocals.
CLA. Fuck.
Microphone.
U87.
Virtual synthesizers.
Juno. DX7.
808s.
Mike Will. Oh, I don't know why I gave him that. Oh, fuck you, Mike. I just gave Mike too much credit.
Your favorite EQ?
Pro Q3 all day.
Yeah.
Make sure to set to
no latency. Make sure to set to linear phase. Sorry.
Okay. True. Your favorite tempo, BPM?
150 right now. 75.
Live drums versus program drums?
Right now, live drums. I just need some snare help.
Favorite compressor?
CL1B and vocals only, but to go to. I just like how it looks.
And what is the least expensive piece of gear that you've used on a song we might know about? MV88, $100 Shure microphone. You plug into the bottom of your phone. Comes with a little app.
It's gorgeous. I use it all the time. If I want to sample a vocal in the beat, I never make someone go track the vocal. I literally just sing this to me right now, or I give them headphones, just sing runs to me right now on the iPhone. They sing me runs, whatever. I take the voice memo, pitch it, fuck with them, little altar boy, some panning, whatever. And then you have this new kind of like R&B sampled Kanye vocal texture in the back. It's a little gritty because it's off the mic, not too clean. MV88, sure. Shout out to Sure.
Well, Herb, I'll save you the trouble of saying to the world he kicked my ass, because he kicked my ass. And not only that, but I would say, and I'd like your opinion, Herb, I think that was one of my 10 favorite batter's boxes of all time. That was great.
Well, here's the problem with a great game, and we've been seeing some great games in the NBA. See, you were good too. He was great, but you were good too. And when that energy starts rolling, man, you just get the hell out the way. Now, I have to stop praising you, both you guys, because the ego thing will break out. But that was kind of a motherfucker, to be honest with you.
Not bad. You guys scared me ahead of time. I thought I had to be really fast. I haven't drinking a yerba yet. I just cracked.
I didn't even want to talk to you after you had that. That'll be some other levels.
Well, we should let the audience know that we didn't do any preparation other than to tell them the process, but we didn't give them any answers or anything.
No, they just told me be fast.
Yeah, that's it. And you were.
I live in trouble.
Here is what I think is part of what is so, we talked about inspiring and how we can inspire each other. I think if I watch this episode as a fan, doesn't matter what level, beginner, student, vet, or whatever the case may be, you learn that there's innovation going on, that people care about the craft, that people are approaching it differently, bringing things together that maybe before you couldn't bring together, breaking rules and reshaping them. And you are the epitome of that type of person. But what comes through is your love of the music, man. The craftsmanship that artists deserve, that you deserve, teamwork, organization, all the good stuff, man. All the good stuff. And that makes room for some of the bad stuff. I'm enormously proud that you like our show and would come on our show, and that you value it because it tells us that we're doing the right thing. But I also am just a big time fan and an admirer. Kenny, you're doing your thing. What you've done with platforms, from The Cave, which I love, to Twitch, and I know there's some new shit coming down. Just tell your manager he's gonna get a call from me. We got to know each other. We got to have a Zoom. We got to do some of that shit.
You guys got to come on the Twitch now, or it's not fair.
Oh, of course. We get the home page of Twitch every single Monday for the beat battle. So if you go to twitch.tv, it's just us, right? Right at the front. Just let us know when. Absolutely.
But really, you guys got a lot of questions in. I get one question. Let me get one.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So as you see, I'm starting to get it figured out with this drum miking stuff.
Yep.
I'm going 5 mics right now. I don't want to overwhelm myself at the start. I'm in pretty good understanding when it comes to like phase alignment, via some help. Pretty good understanding with my positioning. I think I'm using 441 top snare, 57 bottom snare, AKG D112 in the kick, and AKG D19, like that old Beatles mic, as my mono overhead, and then a 57 on the snare. I'm looking to get really like Russell Elevato. I'm looking to get really like tight, not like gated tight, but like sharp, really tight. I'm using a piccolo snare. I'm using 10-inch hi-hats. But for some reason, no matter how I mic this snare, without a lot of processing and a lot of EQ, I'm still getting a really fat tone out of my snare. And so I've tried to angle the mics even more. They're directly facing each other on top and bottom, but I want that snare to snap more. How do I get that more deep tone without it being
There's a couple of things. One, I can't see the treatment in your room, but that's probably the biggest factor. Number two, the overhead mic, I'm not sure. I would definitely go with a ribbon of some sort. And then the sound you're looking for reminds me of a Beatles sound, and what the Beatles did was they used a thing called a tea towel. So they're British, and so at tea time they had this little towel when they ate their little scones and all that stuff, and you drape it a little bit over the edge of where it's covering a bit of the head of a tom or a snare, and that gives you that kind of cracked, thuddy sound without interacting too much with the walls. And it's a process. It might be. I think it's the treatment in your room, and I think it's the overhead mic. A solution might be to record the cymbals in the drums separate, because and so that might be a way to get a little less ambience into the snare drum, because that's what you're hearing, and because we live in a programmed drum world, the snares don't have a lot of ambience on them, so they feel like they're in your face. Whereas with live drums, it takes a minute to get that ambience under control. Herb likes to talk about 40 putting duvet covers all over the walls in hotel rooms to get the delays and the echoes tame. So it can be as cheap as going to Walmart and getting a couple of those and nail them up. If that doesn't work, Mike Dean's got all my numbers. We talk a lot. Just call me.
Okay. And let me add one to that before Dave takes us home. One of our partners, major partner, is available to any of our guests for any advice to solve problems like that. So, once the show's over, I'll connect you to that and know that they deal with the best in the business.
Let's go.
And we'll hook you up, and also turn you on to a couple of companies that we think are pretty incredible, like Leapwing and BandPay and other kinds of things. So, Kenny, use our platform. Come on anytime. Let's do Twitch stuff together. Put your partners on, your homies. We want to support you in every way possible, my man.
Oh, guys, I'm gonna take you up on that. Trust me, I'm gonna be bothering both of you. You're gonna be sick of me.
Absolutely. I expect to hear from your manager in 24 hours for sure.
Let's do it. Guys, thank you so fucking much for having me, though, for real. I really appreciate it.
We love you. Dave, take us home.
I'm gonna ramble a little bit, so everybody get ready. I just kept feeling about Kenny's creativity and how I can steal some of it and how I can borrow some of it, and the enthusiasm with which he works. If you want to know if a tree is a peach tree, just look for peaches. And Kenny's lifestyle is got peaches. You see them all over him. And going back to creativity, you can't get creativity and own it. You can only borrow it. And the way you borrow it is by standing in proximity to the greats. So all creativity is the same. It's just the medium that changes. So the same creativity that a painter would have in a museum is the same creativity that Kenny has when he works. And hopefully all of us do that. And so I'm going to learn a lot from Kenny. I'm going to watch this episode again and absorb and borrow a little bit of creativity, my friend. And we'll see you next week.